Hi, I'm Mike Harrington, and in 2014, I embarked on a health journey resulting in my losing over 200 pounds on my own. Since then, I've been sharing my story and have become an advocate for healthy living. Welcome to Mike Inspires Me, a podcast show about health, wellness, and amazing people to inspire you to take charge of your life and your health. I met our next guest at the National Fitness Hall of Fame, where we both became professional members in Chicago last year. Shay Vasudeva has a passion to help people become the best versions of themselves by using an interdisciplinary approach and a holistic approach, bringing 10 plus years in experience in psychology, personal fitness training, corrective exercise, nutritional coaching, craniosacral work, and also teaches karate and Tai Chi classes to her business, Shay the Coach. Shay teaches classes at the Maricopa County District as an adjunct professor. Shay, welcome to the Mike Inspires Me podcast.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for that introduction.
Well, Shay, when we met last year, we talked about doing something like this, and I was really excited. We've got around, I know you've had a lot of things going on over the past year. Let's talk about some of the things that's most recent. I know you just recently got another degree in kinesiology. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. So the degree is from A.T. Still University, A.T. being short for Alexander Still, founder of osteopathic medicine. So
wow.
We're excited to put that out there and take whatever I learned and use it with my clients and use it in Shay the Coach.
That's awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit just behind for those folks who aren't as familiar with kinesiology, and I'm saying it correct, I assume, right? What kinesiology is and how you're going to use that to help in the work you do.
Sure, yeah, not a problem. So kinesiology in layman's terms would just be the study of movement. And I don't think that obviously gives the degree any justice. So I really focused on corrective exercise. And what corrective exercise does is it looks at muscles that are overactive and muscles that are underactive. And it also works on the premise that sometimes where the pain is, the problem isn't, right? So where the pain is, the problem isn't. Obviously, I'm also trained that when there's an injury, when it's appropriate to refer out to a licensed doctor and so on and so forth. But if that's not needed, I pretty much look at the body at the ankles, knees, hips, shoulder, neck, and so forth. And we just look at what muscles are overworking, what muscles need to be turned down a little bit more. And we identify like what we call as movement pattern distortion. So in layman's terms, simply just means, okay, for example, I'm sitting right now looking at this camera and in a little bit of awe that we're finally doing this podcast.
Yes.
And let's say I'm slouching.
Right.
And my shoulders are hunched forward. Okay. So then I would be trained to say, okay, the muscles up front, like the pecs and anterior deltoids, are going to be tight. And there's certain things going on in the back with the rhomboids and posterior deltoids. So we essentially train those muscles to be able to sit back, like stretch out the pecs and calm the overactive muscles up front. And we turn on and start and train the muscles in the back to sit up properly and correctly so that we can function and move optimally.
Wow. It's amazing. I don't know. It sounds like what you do, and it's a lot further in depth than we have folks that are jobs who come around and help with ergonomics, right? And some of that, what you talked about, sounds similar to some of the things they talk about, but of course in a lot more depth. But the one thing I definitely see is we often are not conscious with how we're sitting or how we're postured, and just how, as you had described, sitting for that length of time in those type of postures can really wreak some havoc on your body in terms of pain or other ailments, I imagine.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And you know what? Just because I study this stuff, I always tell people I'm not immune. It's not like circle, circle, dot, dot. Now I have the amputation shot. Like I myself am not incapable of slouching. What's kind of neat about being on Zoom is with the camera pointed at me, I'm more aware. So like that sometimes maybe we're not aware or we're not mindful that this is occurring. Right. So one of the things that could be really helpful, especially sitting in a chair, is to take a towel and tri-fold it. You know what I mean? Like full length size, like just fold it in threes.
Yeah.
Put it behind your chair where the space between your shoulder blades is. And that's what we call it internal cue. Just something outside of ourselves as a consistent reminder that when we lean back, oh, there's a towel between my shoulder blades, so I should, bring my shoulders towards the towel, if that makes sense. So just little.
It does, yeah.
The day to kind of give your body some, like I said, external cues of.
I think I'm going to try that out for my work day tomorrow. Thanks. Send me the bill.
Send me a picture of the towel.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, what a lot of us now working from home, folks have had to adapt their home environments to work from home. And I imagine, I remember hearing on a call at work, some folks, they didn't have proper chairs, of course, because most of us aren't working, at home too often. Now it's been several months, and, I've heard a few people complaining about, back problems and things. So it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that could be definitely when I go in and work with people, it's always interesting when they have the latest and greatest ergonomic tools, and this is not a judgment, it's an observation based on experience. Maybe they're not using it correctly, right? A lot of times where I'm guilty of, taking something new and taking and pulling it out of the package and then looking at the instruction labels and tossing it. I can't tell you how many people say, I got the greatest ergonomic chair, and yet still slouching the chair if it's too big or too small. So that all plays a part in it too. So one thing to look at is the size of your chair and how does your body fit with that chair. And similarly, the same thing with when you work out and you're in a fitness facility or you're in the gym, and let's say you're working with a stability ball. Well, you're 5'2" versus 6'2", the type of ball, the size that you're going to is going to be different. So if you're going to be working out on one and you're sitting on one, if you're stretched to reach the floor on the stability ball, then chances are you're going to be activating muscles that maybe you don't want to. So you also want to be mindful of similar things, like when you're working out, when you're training, that you're fitted for the proper equipment. And so it's another way that.
Interesting. I'm sure we could talk for hours about that, and we probably should, but we have a few things that we probably wanted to talk about today. But this is some really cool stuff. You do so many amazing things. And I've known you just for, a little over a year now. And, I feel like sometimes I learn something new every time about all the different approaches. I mean, the cool thing about what you do is it's overall, which is why we're all kind of in the same business, is helping people feel better, get healthier, and in that same thing. You have quite a toolkit, and that's impressive. And I like that about, your approach, because, you say something like karate or Tai Chi, or, even some of the, the personal and fitness training, or even psychology. I mean, the as you said here, the multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approach and holistic approach gives you a pretty good advantage to be able to kind of help a person. And of course, there are specialties that you may refer to folks that may specialize in, but you've got quite a well-rounded approach to be able to handle things, nutrition, all these things, where I think a lot of people struggle with, they focus too much on one thing, and they, say they just get physically healthy, right? But they may be not taking care of their health. I'm speaking personally because this was me, not taking care of their health because of some underlying psychological issue, you know. And so you seem to have a pretty good, you know, a little bit of everything in there to be able to kind of identify some of those things and attack them. So what has your experience been with that? Has this been helpful, sort of having like this, I hate to use the word, like a Swiss Army knife of things?
That's a very, very, very good question.
Yeah.
You know, one way I could take it is that one of my instructors, one of my karate senseis early on would always say that sometimes the white belts or the novices are the most effective because they know the techniques.
Yeah.
Front kick, front punch. No,
Yeah.
I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but I really like your analogy. And yes, I do have a very, very deep toolbox, which allows me to work with a wide variety of people. And yes, I'm always aware of referring out when needed, you know, as a coach, always staying within my scope of practice, which is pretty wide. And you know, with that psychology mindset piece is where I go with it in the coaching. And so when we are doing corrective exercise, for example, if for whatever reason the exercises aren't getting done, I learned that some people really need that person to get in their face and say, just do it. And I also come from a belief that if it was as easy as just do it, there wouldn't be all these coaching programs and degrees and things in psychology and mindset training. And so some people need, we call it like taisabaki in karate, like a shift or a pivot. And that's really what having these skills can allow me to do. You know, like I said, with exercise, if something's going on and someone's not doing, I hate to say it, like homework or things in between sessions, but, you know, there's no reason we can't put a pause and have a quick dialogue about it. What's going on? What's going on with the exercises? Is it motivation? You know, is it what's going on in life? And we just have a general conversation. Same thing with nutrition. And really it can glue the different things together. And then also just shows a little bit of like, you know, I care about you. I do all of it because, like you said, I care about people and I want to help them become the best version of themselves. So if that means we have a conversation, and I had a mentor once who always called it like a pep talk of what's going on. And I had another mentor who would always say, you know, how's your spirit? And that doesn't require degrees or certifications. And that's what's so beautiful about mindset-based coaching too, is that when I model and pause and model this approach for my clients, they can pass it on too, because my clients are working adult professionals, moms, dads, aunts, nieces, you know, their family members, they have loved ones in their life they care about too. And if we can say and pivot in my work with my clients, then they can sort of pass that on too and ask their kids in the morning, well, how's your spirit? They can ask themselves, well, how's my spirit? You know, there's so much going on today and these days. And I use that for myself. How's your spirit? You know, what do I need to bring me joy or to bring me motivation? You know, it would be a terrible time if the coach is not motivated to coach. Imagine I show a session and hey, go.
Exactly.
You know, like monetary type of thing. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
It does. No, it really does. And you know, you made me think a lot. You know, and I hadn't thought about that aspect of it too, because you're right. The way you project yourself is certainly going to, you know, help in the way that you're able to reach people. And you know, kind of leading into something I think we also wanted to talk about. You touched on it, is with the psychology piece and in this mindset. And you've got all this experience now that you've been working for, you know, for numerous years, and now you're coming together and you're going to write a book about it. And how exciting that is, you know, to be able to take some of these things and talk about mindset method. And it was cool because we kind of exchanged last week when we talked about, you know, some of the things we're touching on about books, because even mine is mindset from a different approach, but still sort of the same. Again, we're both trying to help people get well. I'm excited. I can't wait to see when this comes out, what you're going to come out with, and can't wait to recommend it. But why don't we talk a little bit? What's your experience with this is, and where you'd like to see this book go.
Sure thing. So the book essentially starts off by saying, stop slouching, sit up straight, and just do it.
Yeah, that's it. End of story.
I don't want to minimize that approach either, because like I said, it motivates me some days too, and it motivates, there's many approaches. There's another saying in karate, it's like, if there was only one style that was the best, there would only be one style.
Yeah,
right?
That's good.
If there was a one size fits all, so when I do nutrition, right, I believe one size doesn't fit all. If there was one way of eating that was the best way of eating, that would be the only way of eating around. And that's, the book doesn't necessarily talk about specific nutritional approaches or even fitness approaches. It is mindset, mainly around mindset, and some stories about, my life journey. Look, I'm getting fluttery. I can talk all day, but when we start talking about my personal story,
I get it. We
get into a little shaky shakes.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's been a very cathartic experience for me to get some of my own story down on paper. But really, it's going to give readers takeaways and solid tools that can be used in real world, real time situations, whether it's through stressful situations or situations where a person has made decisions to make changes in their life and you hit a snag. Well, how do you identify what that snag is and what to do with it through, mindset-based coaching approaches? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that. And I think what's really great for readers, and is that personal piece. I think it helps people relate, and I think makes it easier to convey the message that you're trying to get to them, because it's like, hey, not only am I giving advice, but listen. I mean, how often we get advice from people, and it's like, have you really been there? And that's what's great is, you have had your own personal story and struggles that you've had to go through to build you up and get you where you are. And it's amazing, that not only, then you kind of turn around and you pay it back.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a very good point. For example, I used to be a size 14.
I still can't.
In my 20s, I looked twice my age. And I won't drop my age here, but I'm not in my 20s anymore, which surprises people, and I blush talking about it. But yeah, I really want to speak to what you just said. Any technique or tool that I am putting inside this book that I would suggest or educate readers to try out, let me reword that.
Yeah.
See, I get weird. I get touchy about this. But okay, and also every tool or technique that's in there, I've used myself. There is nothing in there that I wouldn't do myself or haven't done myself. Yeah. So they work. They've worked for me. They work with my clients, and I don't ask my clients to do things that I myself am not willing to do or haven't done. That's the best way of saying that. I don't want people to do what I'm not willing to do or what I haven't done. And even the funniest part, the trickiest part, because I do blog too. I blog for the National Federation of Personal Trainers, and I write some of these blogs out there. Where am I going? The point is the worst and the best compliment a client or a person or a reader could give somebody when they read your stuff and they give it back to you. For example, I have a bad day and I'm sort of down in the dumps about something, and somebody pulls up an article that I read and says, I read this person's work and she wrote about this tool. Did you try it? And then it ends up being my own writing. And I know what they're doing, and I just want to give them the proverbial middle finger, but I know they're doing a job. That's one of the challenges of putting all your techniques and your mastermind out there in a book. Like I said, it's the ultimate gift and curse of someone reading it and your friends going, wait, who wrote that? What are you applying? Are you practicing what you're preaching? And it is a ability piece for me, but it's also with the goal of helping other people and reaching more people than ever, right? I can only reach so many people as one coach, as whatever.
Right.
I do groups, but by writing a book and putting a book out there, sky's the limit, you know. The same thing with this podcast. I'm really grateful you're doing this podcast.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Well, you know, and what I like, you said something, I remember somebody had said about me too. It was an interesting thing, put it in a little different way, but although we're not perfect in everything that we teach and what we try to do, I would say in the short time I've known you, you walk the walk, as they say, because, you know, that gives a lot more. You ever heard back in the day, and they probably still are doctors who do this, who you hear about doctors who smoke, or, you know, you go to see a doctor and he's obese, and, you know, and he's telling you to lose weight, and, you know, and it's like, okay, you know, and you gotta, I think that kind of lends sort of credibility, you know, you gotta be able to I like how you put it. The same thing with the advice I put in my book. It's all stuff that I did. It's just, you know, and I just tell how it is. This is how it worked for me. And I think that makes it easier. I mean, what's great too is you've got the science behind it and the training behind it too, that helps give some more credibility to it. But hey, what better credibility? The fact that I've done this. So.
Sure, no, I totally agree. So a little secret about me is I eat out maybe once a month.
Yeah.
Every couple of months on a very special occasion. I cook home eat, do my meal prep and everything.
Yep.
About 6 meals a day, 5 meals a week, 35 meals a week, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll eat out, but it's for me, it's not.
Right.
I like knowing what goes specifically in my food. Some restaurants are better than others about food.
Yeah.
I have my favorites and so on. But yeah, so that's one of the ways I walk the walk. Like I said, with mindset based and accountability, I have, like I said, it's a gift and a curse. My peers read this stuff, and if I have a bad day, and it's confronting in love. With love, they look me in the eye and they say, you know what, Shay, what's going on with you? This is not the coaching that, you know, and we have serious, really good heart-to-heart conversations. What I call is solution-based, constructive conversations versus sort of not. You ever get yourself into a situation where it's kind of a small fire, and you go and talk to somebody, and if that person isn't into solution-based conversation, and that little fire turns into a bonfire in your life all of a sudden, and then you go, how did that happen? So I'm very blessed to have some amazing people in my life. That's great. I can go to and talk to, and I don't belittle the fact that they put my own teachings into my face. They do it very assertively and with accountability, and I'm like, that's cool. That is motivations of doing what it is I'm doing, so that we can help build a community and support each other and have solution-driven conversations. And some of these conversations are not easy. They're very, very difficult. Yeah. And there's that. And then in terms of movement, you know, I train. Am I a bodybuilder? That is, you know, am I like, you know, everyone's got different goals. Same thing with fitness. One size doesn't fit all. Right. You know, I'm into a total sort of, like you said, wellness type of person. And I love my bodybuilders, and I value fitness as well. That's just not my goal. So that's part, you know, in the coaching as well, is when you work with people and when you are trying to reach your own goal. And if there's an issue reaching a goal, maybe it's not the methods that we're using to get there. Maybe it's the goal itself. If I'm not motivated to be a bodybuilder and I'm on a bodybuilding plan, there's an issue there, right? And like I said, I love my bodybuilders. And that brand of fitness for sure. It's just not in my goal, right? Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I was literally having a conversation today about a similar thing. There's a woman I've met recently, may have heard of her, 84-year-old woman, Ernestine Shepherd. She's known as the world's oldest female bodybuilder. Oh, yeah. And
actually, I'm going to try to get her on at some point too on the show here. But one of the things I was talking to my mom a bit about her, because my mom is younger than this woman quite a bit. And I was encouraging my mom, who's trying to get healthy now. I said, and this woman walks like 10 miles a day besides her bodybuilding stuff. And it's like, first off, having that time, but she's 84 years old. She doesn't have to work anymore. But one of the things I was explaining to my mom is there's a point you got to try to figure out what's healthy enough. And this woman is a competitive bodybuilder. So there's a level that she goes to that the average person probably doesn't need to be optimally healthy. And, like you said, we've got a lot of bodybuilding friends in our National Fitness Hall of Fame. We know quite a few of them, and shout out to those guys. They're awesome dudes, and they help us a lot. I mean, they give us something to strive for. In fact, I'm not a bodybuilder myself, like you said, but I have a picture of Arnold down in my basement. I got one of Gilad too.
I was so tempted to talk about Dave Lyons. He's such I have a picture of him, of me standing in the middle of both of you at
That's 5. Right.
110, 115. It's cracking up, putting a smile on my face.
Yeah.
That's the little stuff. That's the stuff that's in the book. Maybe not that specific picture, but the things like finding things that bring you joy every day, right? Yeah. So maybe that picture, when I look at it, it brings me joy in a very interesting, and in a nice way. It was a great time getting to know you, getting to know him. And that picture is in my social media, on my Facebook page, on Shay the Coach. And when I flip through Shay the Coach, it's one of those that I look at, and it makes me grin. And those moments of joy on a daily basis add up over time. So I'll give a freebie. I'll give a little bit of freebie. It's called the accumulation effect, right? So it's no different. Creating pockets of joy during the day and it building up over time is no different than saving up for a vehicle, right? So when we're saving up for a vehicle, we want to say how much money we want to save. And we want to save enough to find enough to get enough results, right? So for example, we don't want to save $1 a month for 12 months because you're only going to save $12, right? We want to have a reasonable amount so we see enough results. So the same thing with joy. How do you save up joy? Well, for example, you do 10 minutes a day and you do that 6 days a week. That's an hour a week of joy. And for some people, they like Excel spreadsheets and they like to actually track that. And for some people, they go, that's tacky and I don't want to try that. Well, that's why I'm writing a book, because there's going to be tools in every chapter. Some tools will resonate with people and some won't. So this is one of those of how do I bring joy to my life on a daily basis in a quantifiable way that can build up over time, that can change or impact my mindset over the long term, just like we save up every month for a vehicle. So it's making those things really tangible, and again, making tools that resonate with people that they can utilize in real world, real time situations.
I'm gonna be borrowing some of those things. I can't wait till this comes out. No, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, this is in your book. I'm gonna
Oh no. I do have one. It's funny you mentioned that. I was talking about in my a concept of feed the mind, and it's a similar concept. Maybe the method you use is a little different, where I encourage people to really ingest as much positivity as they can through different, because we're bombarded with so much negative, and it takes its toll on our mentality. It takes its toll eventually on our physical and spiritual well-being. I was listening to a podcast a couple weeks ago, and this is coming up. You have a good method though, because it's good and measurable. We're just kind of giving advice, and but I did hear this guy said, well, I heard a guy said that for every 15 minutes of news that he watches, he listens to a half an hour of positive, like spiritual music to kind of offset that 15 minutes of negativity. But I don't know if that's exactly what you were going for with what you were talking about. It kind of made me think of that. It made me think about how important it is that we make time for the positive things, and that it adds up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same concept, different approach. I have a brainstorm. I hope I don't put you on the spot a little bit.
Oh.
But maybe we should visit each other in each other's books.
Yeah.
As accountability to
definitely
get the books proceeding. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
write a page or two in mine, I'll write a page or two in yours, or share
Yeah,
somehow.
that would be awesome. Yeah, no, I like that. I think we're at a good mindset with it. Well, we have some similar I have an undergraduate in psych too, so we have some of that same type of thinking too. But I'm excited. You know, we haven't had a chance to talk as in depth as we are getting it like this since last year, and it's cool that these are coming up. So yeah, we'll talk offline after.
Sure, for sure, right.
Well, let's it's in terms of time, because I know we wanted to kind of keep this time box to a bit here. So the book, anything else? I mean, so do you have a projected time period? I'm not going to put you on the spot because I know with me too. But when you hoping to within the next year or so,
So this is
Yeah.
this is interesting. The goal was this year, but this year's been
I can
pretty
relate.
magical. I use that word in a very interesting
Yeah,
context.
no, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I put mine on hold too because of a lot of the uncertainty and things going on, and events happening as well. So,
Well, technically, mine's I wouldn't necessarily stretch it too much that it's on hold. It's on a different pace.
okay.
So, for example, if I in the personal training days, I would ask people, "Do you want results faster, or fastest?"
Okay.
We're no longer on the fastest track. We might be now on the fast track, right?
Gotcha.
Fastest. We're now on the fast track.
Yep.
I am making progress on it. The manuscript's done. Now it needs to go through the second draft of the manuscript. So I can say this much: we're on the second draft of the manuscript. The first
That's awesome.
we're on the second draft. So however long it takes for that second draft to be done, and then obviously there's the editing process and so on.
Absolutely.
That's what I can do now.
Well, what's exciting is now that folks that'll be listening to this, they'll get a chance at the end of here. We'll give everybody your information on how they can track and find it. And they can start poking you on the shoulder too and say, "Hey, when's that book coming? Because we heard you talking about it and we're excited about it." But we'll give that out, and they'll have ways so they can follow your work and whatnot.
Sure.
Cool. Well, you've got some other things that we wanted to talk about. I want to make sure we have a little time. So some of the other things that you do besides just the book, you do other writing. You mentioned some of it, some blogging, and you've also written some other, in other publications you write as well.
Right, yes. So for example, going back to the concept of Tai, Sabaki, or shifting, of pivoting, right?
Yeah.
For non-karate folks, let me reach you too.
Oh.
I love my karate folks, but pivoting. I am pivoting at Shay the Coach. We're working on Shay the Coach writing, right? I do still have clients, but we are very much getting into the writing parts of Shay the Coach. I do blog. I'm a resident blogger for National Federation of Personal Trainers blog. They put out great information for certified for CPTs and people who are into fitness and wellness and so on. Some of the other writing that I do is it's medical communication. People hate when I refer to myself as a nerd, but I'm a nerd. All the different topics that Mike used to introduce me: psychology, kinesiology, so on. I write about those for different contracts and so forth. So companies will contract me. Maybe they have a new product out,
Yep.
need some technical science terms broken down into layman's words, instruction manuals, all these things that maybe people. That's really funny. Remember I said in the beginning, sometimes you get ergonomic equipment and you get these instructions and go, "Oh, I don't know if I know how to, I should read those." And then you start putting stuff together and then you go, "Where are those instructions?" So actually I do that. It never dawns on you that it actually is, there's a human who takes the time to write those instructions, and that human may or may not know a thing or two about kinesiology. So I've been very blessed to take a lot of this education and write manuals and write for companies who have medical equipment or who have really sciencey things, who need it compartmentalized, put in layman's terms, and given to the general public.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nerdy, but I like it. It's good.
Well, it's a necessary thing, like you said, but and you need somebody that likes it.
I know, right?
Yeah. Because otherwise you could have all kinds of evil things in there, you know, you leave out and then somebody gets hurt or, you know.
Yeah, right. So essentially, basically that, you know, that's the thing. Writing the book and you know, taking sciencey things and writing manuals and things like that.
And you develop curriculum too within some of the places you teach. And so yeah, I know you've developed some curriculum for psychology and culture classes.
Yeah. I love that you're getting into all of this, and I know we talked about getting into all of this, but I'm looking at the time too. Maybe we leave them.
Do it part two, right?
Yeah. Because I feel like that, you know, we're talking about the book, we're talking about.
I could, yeah.
And I could talk forever about that as well. So I really want to value.
Well, we've painted a well-rounded picture, I think, for the audience here, at least now, especially the folks on my side who don't, you know, who are getting to know you for the first time. I think it's cool that and maybe we've sparked enough interest to kind of want to go, hey, let me find out what else this young lady here does.
Yeah. No, that's great. I know. So we are focusing a lot on writing. So if you're out there and you're listening and you want someone to take some sciencey or some technical, you know, or some even psychology pieces and put it into layman's terms, poke me and see. I've got some time to take on some writing projects. So I really do. I appreciate you taking the time to give them a full picture of some of the writing that I've done, enjoy doing, and so forth. That's great.
Oh, it was awesome. No, I think we've covered a lot of great things here. I don't know if there was anything else you want to talk about. We can start just kind of letting people know about where you can be found and those type of things.
Of course, right. So the website is www.shaythecoach.com. We will eventually have a writing specific website. When that's done, hopefully you'll have me back and we'll do around.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, everything, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, it's all Shay the Coach. It's all the way to reach me, shaythecoach@gmail.com. I'm very much accessible these days. So just Shay the Coach.
That makes it nice and easy. And I tell you, you know, you're a coach, but you've got so many other just amazing facets. And it's really cool that, you know, you wanted to share with us, you know, all these great things you're doing, because I think it lets people know that there's people in the world who have been through their own things and have the ability to be able to teach people how they've gotten through and some other ways they can improve their lives. So I'm excited that to have you on. And this is exactly what the Mike Inspires Me show does. We talk about inspiring people, helping people change their lives. So that's great.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to kind of end, if I can, on a
Absolutely.
So it's Shay the Coach. And I do have a healthy sense of humor.
She does. She does.
Shay, it is not Shay the Couch.
Yeah, quite the opposite. Yeah.
Shay the Coach. Yeah, no, I've been following your work too, and you're certainly inspiring. And
thank you
so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Well, likewise. We'll stick around just right after here, and we'll wrap it up. All right. Thanks for coming on, Shay.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mike Inspires Me podcast. Stay tuned for future episodes and check out some of the past ones you may have missed. For more information on me and my story, go to mikeinspiresme.com. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Mike Harrington Official and on Twitter at Mike Inspires Me. Stay healthy and stay awesome.